names, guys that are gonna be here for CTAS?
I don't know, because they're not speaking in the official meeting. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have it.
Okay.
One of them's Heather Duncan, I can tell you one of them. Yeah, we can tell you one of them. I can't remember his name. I forgot that's where she went.
I apologize for that. My father just got out of the hospital and had to take that call and handle some things. So he's doing okay though. All right, we'll begin the meeting. Call it to order. Welcome everybody that's here. Appreciate you coming. So that being said, everybody looking at the agenda. Got any changes or add-ons you want to make to it?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I do have one little add-on at the end. On number 10, new business, I want to move, let's see, yeah, I want to move, make it B. I want to have a short discussion because I don't want to really do anything tonight on sign-on bonuses. So, if you can just write that down there, we'll talk about that real quick and then we'll move on. And at the end of this at the end of this agenda, when we conclude our meeting, we'll just automatically go into the work session and then we'll hear from Heather and them, okay? All right. So as soon as we adjourn that, we'll just continue on. All right, we got a motion and a second?
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comments, nobody over here wanted to speak, so I guess we'll pass on that. Approval and modify previous minutes, meeting minutes. Y'all had a chance to look over that, any corrections, additions? That's all good with y'all, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, have a motion, second.
Second.
You got a second, all in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Write-offs and bad debts is $11,565, and it looks like everybody signed it and looked at it. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Quarterly financial report. Michael, I hadn't heard nothing from Mariana since she was here last month, so I assume everything looks good as far as these figures. If you got any questions, we'll entertain them, but if not, we'll move on. She'll be here April?
I believe so.
I think she'll be here April to.
No,
May.
May, excuse me, all right, May. All right, so if everybody's good with it, and if it looks good with everybody, we'll move on. Okay. Move on to that, to the director's report.
All right. Last month ran 929. Previous month was 972, and last year was 920, so pretty consistent going there. Again, nothing amazing there. By zone, you can see the number, and then the number in parentheses is the average since I took over July of 2013, and basically just shows they all stay pretty close to their average. Very little variance except the Manchester zone, which we've talked about plenty of times. Shoot time, again, the number in parentheses is that average for the last 10 years. And again, very little variance. Seam time was a little less, but certainly nothing that would make us wonder why or question. So, again, most of the time, these are just to show that everything pretty much flows along. Vehicles, the fleet's in good shape. we do have a concern. Every manufacturer I've talked to says it will be 2 years before they can get another ambulance. Of course, they were way behind on chassis in the pandemic, and then the strike got them even further behind. And so they're all playing catch up, but everyone we've talked to says you're looking at 18 to 24 months before you could have another one. I think we'll be fine. The fleet has been good. That's just longer than I like to go, but in getting a new one. So we'll just have to monitor that.
So the problem is the chassis or the box?
Chassis. Boxes, we've got a couple we could remount. We really need to get, as you can see, we've got a lot of old boxes. So if we could get a total new unit, it would be nice. But if we could get a remount faster, I'd be okay with that. But right now, excuse me, just chassis and labor, them getting time to do them. They got so far behind that they're just way behind on catch-up. So they're starting to get a few chassis trickling in, but they're just so backlogged. All of them, everyone I've talked to is just backlogged. All that ARP money came in, so everybody bought a big ambulance, buy big stuff with that. And so that overwhelmed, and then they couldn't get chassis, so it was a double whammy there. So staffing really hasn't changed. We could use 7 paramedics. We have 1 out on comp still with a shoulder, 1 out on medical with a knee, and nothing there's really changed. That's been pretty consistent. There's the staffing for February, about average. Of course, it was 2 days shorter in the month. Going back to your monthly total, if you add 30 calls a day times 2 days, that gets your month total really right back where the rest of them are. Just happened to be a couple of days short. Only 1 day, technically. And that's all I've got.
Okay, any questions for Michael? We have none. Then we will move on to unfinished business. The update resolution. That's what we're moving on work session, so we won't entertain that right now because it'll be talked about here in a few minutes. That's the only thing I have in unfinished business. So we'll move to the new business on, we're none of these new job title. Current title is administrative assistant, new title is EMS administrative office supervisor.
So I went to personnel and procedure, whatever that group's title is, and explained it to them. They're like, sure. They said, now your board approved this. I said, yes. Only then when I went back and looked, I couldn't find, they wanted an actual vote. We talked about it. We were talking about the budget, and y'all were okay with it, but we never officially voted, and they
We didn't
wanted,
have I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry.
We didn't have the official title, did we?
At that
Yep.
time, we didn't know what the title, we didn't know what the title was
Oh,
gonna be.
that's right.
So we said, yeah,
Sure.
we're good with it because her status has changed.
Right.
So we agreed that we were good with it.
Right.
We just need to know what
and this is
what
the
it's gonna be called.
title that Heather gave us. That's how we came up with it. We didn't come up with it. But for them, we do need in the official minutes of a meeting where this board voted and approved that change.
Motion to approve a title change.
Second.
Lori Lilly?
Second,
Second.
Trusser, any discussion? Of course, I know this was discussed a month ago, 2 months ago, 2 meetings ago anyway. So, okay. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll get them a copy of these minutes that show this board
Okay, that'd be good.
was okay with that.
All right, B, sign-on bonuses. Now, I put this on there because, I've had discussion with the mayor, and with other people, and we come to, conclusion that, we might need to, entertain the idea of a sign-on bonus. I know other counties around probably are doing that. I'm not too, inclined to do that, but I want to throw it out there and entertain some ideas on, and we're not going to, not to vote on anything tonight. Think about it and come up with some hard figures for next meeting. and then we can discuss that and see what happens and move on from there. But it'd be like X amount of dollars for a paramedic, X amount of dollars for EMT, and that would be spread over a period of time.
So, I thought, we talked about this a few months ago, and thought we
I think it
decided
brought up
was-
a couple months ago,
Yeah,
but
I thought we thought that it was not legal, that we couldn't do a sign-on bonus because that's not something other departments can do. Is that, I think it is legal?
That was where the conversation went. I don't know that we ever got an official opinion
Yeah.
from whoever that needs to come from, but that was the concern, that we would be treating our employees different than the other county employees, and there's that whole 4 categories where everybody has to be treated the
that's why I'm
same.
gonna take this discussion, you know, cause the mayor,
So-
I mean, he brought it out and I thought, well, we'll bring it up. and-
Yeah.
And I think for bonuses as a whole, isn't that kinda, I'm leaning over to y'all now, cause you're like giving a bonus per se as a, is there some legality to that on how it's,
A bonus is fine. The thing, the very positive thing about a bonus is you're given, money or incentive to somebody one time with no future.
no reoccurring, nothing
Whereas
reoccurring?
if you gave somebody a raise, you're giving a raise every single year. You're giving
Right.
that money every single year.
You think that's a legal, if we do it in just this one department with this one group of employees, that's not going to have an effect?
Well, I would obviously have to run that by our legal department, but I can tell you, obviously, in a lot of situations, the law is different for emergency type workers than it is for your regular 8 to 5 Monday through Friday people. Even like the number of comp time hours, y'all are allowed more comp time hours than a regular Monday through Friday employee.
Okay.
Right.
And,
And if,
the other thing, I have an HR background, but what the market is doing, you have to compete with the market, the private world, other counties, other cities. So, sometimes you have to change your benefits package to match the market to make you, a
Sure.
viable.
And I'm not against it. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
we're not
I can
violating
run that by
something
our legal department, but I
that-
can tell you, unless there's some law that prohibits it that I'm not aware of, and that's what you need to do to attract employees, you can do that.
Do you
Okay.
know of any other counties that are doing sign-on bonuses for EMS?
Yeah, Bradley County is, Hamilton started doing it, a lot of the eastern side, because, face it, the way that we are in the EMS world, it's hard to find good EMT IVs, and then also paramedics. A lot of the smaller counties are losing those to the bigger cities, and
Amen.
the pool is not out there as much as it was years ago.
Well, we made a motion and passed unanimously with everyone here prior to the holidays to try to push through a raise, that way. I'm all for sign-on bonus. The more we can give our paramedics, the better. I'm for that. But, I think, to Ms. Duncan's point too, is the fact that maintaining them, we don't want to lose them the next year. Hey, you signed on and then they go for the next sign-on bonus somewhere else. So the raise is the way you keep them. And, the raise that we push for prior to, kind of as an emergency thing to maintain and try to build our numbers. We've got to, it doesn't need to be, we ask for a $4 raise and we get 2. This really needs to be, we ask for our $4 raise and we get it. Or-
And I would.
Because all the surrounding counties are gonna get that.
Yes,
They're-
and I know of multiple employees that got a bonus at another place, worked their year, and then immediately went to the next, like
Right.
say, chased that rabbit
Right.
all over.
Right,
So,
we lost a medic.
so
to
there
that,
is
yeah.
argument to both sides of that, but your method, like you say,
It-
is longer lasting.
I think depending upon if we can get a sign-on bonus approved, depending upon the amount of it, it needs to come with conditions of, employment, you have to stay here a year, but if you stay 2 years, you get, I don't know.
yeah, that would be, and that's why I'm bringing this up, so that we got a month to come up with some figures, hard figures, and stipulations, and things that we want to see if we do start offering this, you know.
When does Budget Finance look at that request that we put in, or that resolution we put
They're
before
going
them?
to start next month, and I don't know when EMS is on the schedule.
But see, that's the regular budget. That's
Right.
not that motion that we tried to push prior to the holidays. And I know it
Right.
got delayed because of the holidays, but
Right.
I've seen budget and finance work very quickly with a
Right.
motion that this group has made, and within 2 weeks, it's in front of the entire,
It just hadn't come,
council,
and I'm not
you
chairman,
know.
it just hadn't come before us
right.
yet.
So I'd like
So-
to see
But-
that move.
And the budget has to be done in, what, July? When does the budget has to be finished?
It has to be passed by August 31st by law.
So
Okay.
when, August 31st, yes.
Alright.
So
They
we're,
they like to see it by June 30th, obviously. and
they're gonna be,
early.
well, the commission's gonna be able to view a rough draft in May. So, you know, you're gonna have some idea sometime in May on what's in there.
So question, they're just gonna be looking at the budget that we talked about and discussed. It's not gonna be kind of an emergency thing that we made a motion for unanimously prior to the
I'll
holidays?
have to get with Chairman on that and see, but he's gonna be, they're meeting every week for the month of April. So I don't know where you're gonna stand on your schedule and what week you're gonna, what Thursday you're gonna be.
Yeah,
meeting.
I mean, I've not been, I assume they notify me when my
They
budget's coming
probably
up,
will.
So how do we get
which is not
that?
answer to your question.
'Cause
No, it's still
like
not
Jay's talking
answered.
about, how do we get that? Because we approved that as a separate discussion,
Right.
not tied to our, you know, what, the budget that we're presenting to them. You know, we made a separate resolution where we asked for a $4 an hour raise. How do we fast track that so that they look at it? Because they need to be looking at it before they look at the budget, really. I mean, we need to go ahead and get that in front of them. How does that process work?
Well,
I mean, can you just
it
request
probably
them?
should have already come up.
It should have already come up. So,
I mean, I told the chairman about it, and it's out there, so I hadn't,
but
you know.
you're on budget finance, or either y'all,
I'm on budget and finance.
well, can y'all make sure, when's the next budget finance meeting?
Thursday.
Next week.
Next week, so can y'all make sure you bring it up at that point?
We might see if we can get, I'll see if the chairman can put it on the table.
Okay, well, that sounds like that needs to happen.
I think the risk of a sign-on bonus without a raise is you risk alienating your long-term employees too. Because you're gonna get somewhat, and I'm not saying that they're gonna be against some new grad getting a bonus. They're not. They're not gonna say a new grad shouldn't deserve it. That's not what I think they would say. I would imagine it would be, hey, I've been loyal. I've been here X amount of years, you
Well,
know.
I'm sure they want the help
what's-
too.
you
And
know,
that
we've
has
already-
come up
It has come up, yeah.
in current employees.
Right, and we have discussed, okay, well, 5-year you get this bonus, 10-year you get this bonus. Well, I think it was determined we couldn't do that. We couldn't base a bonus. Now, we could integrate it in the form of pay raises, but we couldn't say, hey, you've been with us 10 years, so your salary is gonna notch up, kinda like a government employee, an E6,
Well, I don't know,
E7.
did we actually find out that we couldn't do longevity of bonuses?
That was my understanding. I could be wrong, but
I don't
we
think
can't.
went to the-
You can?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think we went that route.
Just has to be
Yeah,
factored in.
Okay.
Right, it just had to be a factor.
I know that's something the, salary ad hoc committee is looking into.
Yes, and they meet Thursday too, so.
My computer went to
Oh,
sleep.
I see no signal up there, I thought.
Yeah, and
mean,
we
if
could
we
turn
get
it
a-
off.
Great, we're not projecting, that's good, but no, so, need to come up with, you know, think about it and come up with some numbers. Not just for sign-on, and maybe come up with some numbers for the people that are already here. Like a one-time money, you sign a contract saying you're gonna work 2 more years, and you get this. Something like
Or
that.
longevity bonuses.
Well,
you know,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely something gonna be brought up next Thursday as far as the whole county, the county as a whole on longevity, so maybe we work something out on that. But,
If we get a big enough, if they'll approve that $4 an hour raise, we may not have to worry as much, or may not have to have as big of a sign-on bonus to start with. If we
Right.
get their overall, their overall salaries up to a more competitive level, it may not be important anyway. So I think that that's probably what we need to push the hardest and figure out if we can get that, through. And I guess that's, maybe y'all can make some headway on that Thursday. and-
Yeah,
And
see if we can
have
get
some
it brought
information
up.
for us for the next,
Now, that's a big ask, $4, that's,
well, it's a big ask, but it's a
I
big
don't know
ask.
if it's gonna, I don't know what they're gonna, how it's gonna play out or how it's gonna happen, but,
I'll ask them if they
We'll
give us
see.
7 paramedics some other way.
we'll see.
That's how many we need.
But, so is everybody good, be thinking about this, the next meeting we'll, get into it deeper?
Sure.
So do you think that you think that they would be more likely to do a sign-on bonus? Is that what your thought process is from the,
Possibly, we show them the numbers and figures.
I think it goes back to what Heather said, sign-on's a one-time, whereas a raise is forever. Now,
One
how you-
time.
I'm not-
but how are you gonna keep them?
oh, sure, I'm not
Well, yeah,
arguing,
Sure, you may only get 2
I-
years out
I
of it, they'll be
think the-
gone, but.
yeah, but I think that's the argument.
Well, I'm open for anything that'll get medics in here and keep them and, good medics and keep our current
I'm
medics.
trying to do something be easier in case this goes south, then, we do
Change
have a
both
little-
roads.
We have a little something to,
Which one?
I just wanna make sure that what we presented and unanimously agreed upon is, different than what they're looking at now. They're looking at a budget, but I don't think our motion that we put forth has ever been addressed. And, I don't know,
And that
that was like
in or
October,
something.
November.
Yeah, that's been a long time
And so I don't know,
and I will say the chairman he's had some,
Yeah, they canceled the December meeting, they canceled the January
Right.
meeting, so,
Okay, who's the
cause there
chairman?
were some medical issues going on with the chairman's wife at that time, and he had
why, I
to.
just know they got
Who's-
canceled.
Lynn Seaborn.
Okay.
At that time, the vice chairman had, resigned. Hunt the vice chairman he got off the committee because he's, like on so many other committees, and this, was gonna be too much for him, so he got out. So at that time, we didn't have a chairman and a vice chairman, so that's probably the reason they got canceled, so.
Well, that makes sense why they haven't got it done, but it needs to get fast-tracked a little bit before they start looking at the entire budget.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on. Motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Motion.
Okay, and we'll start the, all in favor saying aye. Well, I guess I have to do that now. Now, we're gonna start the work session. And, what we have on the work session is our update resolution. And if y'all had a chance to look at this one, y'all have not?
I seen it. It was in the attachment.
Well, here.
I don't know that I don't think I got it.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I done that, so you had it.
Yeah.
It didn't come through.
I went back and I
See
tried
it,
to
I might
find it
need
today,
your
I couldn't find anything on mine either, cause I lost
Do you
mine,
want
I
us to give you a
couldn't
minute or two to try?
print it off today. I couldn't search and find it.
Tim,
That's where I thought it come to.
are we still miking and,
Yeah, we're gonna have
Cameron
to
is?
carry on, since because
Okay.
we don't have an employee, it's not employee,
I don't
it's
care,
not
I'm just,
confidential, so
Okay.
we'll just keep on taping.
all right.
Do you need to report anything on?
No,
I don't think we do
I don't think
minutes
so.
on
I think
the
you're good.
work
I think
session.
you
We
can,
usually don't, but
I think you can not record.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
recorded anyway, so.
You want me to grab a couple of chairs?
Yeah.
Or I can
Yes.
sit back, or I can leave.
Or,
Yeah, we do need them on the mic.
Oh, yeah, you can leave.
If we're
You can
gonna-
go.
I got a
Mic and
question.
record.
Yes,
Who's responsible for keeping this building locked?
I got key. If I don't, he does. Okay, I've got a key. I brought it tonight.
There's a union guy that was here, came over a little bit ago. He forgot to lock the outside, where we have our dinners or.
Community
lunches.
center. Mhm.
He locked his key inside the room before he locked the door outside. The one,
So he needs that community key, or we just need to
No.
let them know that the community key's in there?
it needs to be locked.
Oh,
The long hall, it's on this side.
well, if I think about it,
Playing musical chairs, what are you doing?
and I don't know that this one will do that.
I think we're bringing
That makes
more.
sense.
Now, this door's up.
He's a handy
right?
fella, isn't he?
Well, you got a key. I'm gonna give you the key and just
It's
bring
good
it
to
back.
have him around.
We just don't know if that was the same.
I don't know if that's same, I don't know if it's keyed to the same lock, so we'll just have to, if it's not, then I don't know what to do on that, so I'll call somebody.
It just comes from me, so he didn't have a number to put
Right.
on,
It'll be that key right there. Do,
but. Miss Duncan.
So y'all got plenty of seats?
I gotta be on
No.
with my t-shirt on.
Well, we've been at staff meeting for 2 days in Nashville, so we're, and I wanna introduce you all, cause I know everybody here, I'm at a little bit of an advantage. But this is Mark Alley. He joined our staff in October of last year. And he is our emergency services consultant with CTAS. We had been without that, component of our consulting service until October, had been vacant for a while. But he has a vast amount of knowledge in fire, in ambulance, and all that kind of stuff, and has worked with agencies all throughout the state and probably the whole southeast. I mean, he's very well connected, and, anyway, he can answer any of those kind of questions for you. I'm more of the government and finance consultant, but he,
That's a 1972 resolution.
That was
So it's
old
gonna
school
read a lot
typewriter.
different than what it
Bring
was.
that one out.
Wouldn't you have hated to type on it?
That's not even a dot
Yeah.
matrix.
And I've had them checking and see if there's been any, and there had to have been any amendments and stuff to that, and they can't find any, so.
now, what is it that you all seek to do? 'Cause
Well, we won't bring 1972 back to 2024. We wanna update it.
We wanna see if it needs to be updated. I mean,
Yes.
if you look at this thing, you say, it checks the boxes that need to be checked, then we're fine. Well, I mean, we don't need anything. But if you look at this and you're like, well, this is ridiculous, it doesn't cover you in this area and that area, and we need to make sure that we check these boxes, we wanna check those boxes.
And I'll
Because-
tell you too, you're not the first, this is what our third stop this week,
Yeah.
we've been in
With
3.
EMS.
Yeah.
EMS is tending to be a hot topic in the state. Of course, the reason of that being with it becoming an essential service, that really topped the case. But also on top of that, a lot of the smaller counties are, they're struggling. The smaller counties, they can't find the paramedics, they can't find the EMT, the EMTIVs. Also, when they started the National Registry test to be, you know exactly where I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's a harder test where we didn't have to take that test. Probably couldn't pass that test today, but it's more theory. It's more theory is what it is. And a lot of the newer students are having a hard time passing that on the rate there. So, and it trickles down into the local ambulance service. So it isn't just one or two counties. It is all over the state of Tennessee. Kind of give you a history a little bit, ambulance authorities, there's several of them across the state, not as many as there used to be. There's maybe 15.
You sure think 15?
I'm guessing at that because I know of 2 right now out of my hand. One's in West Tennessee. Lauderdale County is still a ambulance authority, and then also Coffee. You don't see this very often.
But are they are they chartered?
No, Lauderdale is not.
So they're kinda like we are? I
They're
mean,
just like yours,
we're in-
because this
we're-
is 1972.
We're declared a charter by name. There's nothing there. where the-
Authority by name.
Authority by name. So there's nothing in there saying the state, we don't have a state charter or anything like that.
Okay.
We're just by name, and that's what they named it, the authority.
And that's what we're gonna have to, on my behalf, I would have to look more into detail on this. Because kind of the trend that's kind of going around right now in the state is a lot of private services. There's a lot of county-run services that has the board, that public safety committee, the appointments from the mayor to the director and so forth like that. So, this is kinda like one of those that, you know, I would have to have some time to research.
And, you know,
Especially 72. That was actually before I was born, so I'll admit that one. I'm proud to say that.
well, probably most, you know, a lot around this table the same way, except me. But and there's not a,
Lean up there.
I was just bragging, okay? I found something to brag about.
yeah. To show how young he is.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you.
There you go.
So
But-
what do we need out of you? Do you, I mean, really, at this point, can you really give us anything without going at home and doing some
I'd say
research?
now he'd have to take that.
Yeah, I
We're
would
gonna take that
need
with
to-
him and look at it.
Yeah,
And what, the other thing to ask is, what do you all really want?
correct.
I think it's, we wanna make sure that we're operating within, and correct me, add on whatever, within the confines of the law. You know, we've been, told that we're protected as an ambulance authority with, you know, should there be a legal, you know, we're not on the hook personally. You know, we're protected from a financial standpoint in case of a lawsuit as an authority. And I forget was it the same service that 911 operators use, that same, so we fall, you know, we have protection. We're operating according to the law as an authority, and everything's been filed at the state. If there's a charter that needs to be done, you know, and for that matter, I'm what Keel and all of us have said, you know, the pros and cons. If it's like, hey, here's the pros of maintaining it as an authority versus the cons of maintaining it, and vice versa. And you know, it may be out of your wheelhouse, but that's just some of the things that,
Well, in your wheelhouse, say on the HR end of it. You know, because we run some gray areas where they come to the board with an employee issue. Well, you know, yeah, technically we can handle it, but technically it's an HR issue. And these things need to go before HR, you know, before they,
If you know, like on Lauderdale, how do they do, if you can, how do they do HR issues? Does the board handle it, or does the county HR handle all of HR issues?
That I'm not familiar with.
Well, I can just.
or do they even
speak
have
to-
HR? Because most counties don't have HR.
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
you're an oversight board, so you don't
Right.
have any authority like to. And I'm just speaking typically, I haven't read this, but just generally, you know, a board is just an oversight. The director is the only person who would have authority to do anything, hire or fire or promote or demote or that kind of thing, typically.
But technically, we have authority over him, the way that's written up.
the way,
Right.
I,
The
the way I
director.
kind of look at it, tell me if I'm mistaken, is it's kind of like similar to a school board. You know, we help choose, you know, a director, you know, help support the director, give tools to the director of the school board, but the school board itself, that being, you know, or the director is the one who ultimately, you guys make the hiring, firing decisions within the department. We don't say, hire this medic, don't. That's not,
Right.
we don't manage that.
Day-to-day-
Right.
day-to-day
They run-
management.
And they manage disciplinary actions and
Right.
things.
They
but-
run the show.
yeah, they
You
run
all
the
are
show.
kind
We're,
of the advisory.
we're like, hey, we discuss budget,
Yeah.
and he says, hey, we
But-
need more money for this or that.
Yeah, and we hear grievances too, which I think
Right.
that, you know, I need to look into that and see if we can, if that's something we need to be doing or something
Well,
that HR needs to pull
typically
up.
on grievances, the personnel policy should say what every county employee does
Right,
in a grievance.
But that's not how it has been done. If I make a decision, I fire somebody, for
Yeah.
example, and they don't like that,
Yeah.
they appeal to this board, whereas everybody else in the county has a different path if
But
they
let me ask you
disagree.
this, you're giving them the personnel policy of the county, and they're signing that, and what does that policy
But
say?
that has
Now,
also been
I'm
a-
not arguing
I
one
know.
way or the other.
And I'm just telling
See the
you,
gray area we
I'm
got
just
there?
telling you that if you're having
Right.
employees sign a document that they understand, and they abide by that,
right,
they are supposed to abide by that document, as are you. So if there's no mention of grievance to this board, you're operating outside your policy.
and I'm just telling you how it has been done.
Yeah.
Not whether that was correct or not.
Right.
Well, does that
But-
policy need to be amended to?
Well, all that would mean is they wouldn't come to this board, they would have to
Oh
go
my
to the county's
goodness. I
grievance,
can
and basically
see.
get y'all out of that loop. if they didn't like my decision, whatever it was, they would go to the county's grievance, there's a
Personnel and
name,
Procedures
Is that who-
Board, and they'll form a grievance committee.
as opposed to coming to this
to,
board.
handle that.
And
That's
that's,
one of
that's
the-
a commissioners, I mean, that's a group of commissioners, or is it?
Heather's in it.
That's the
Okay.
biggest HR issue in counties everywhere is just not doing what you got reduced to writing and people signed. You know, and I'm not saying you can't come to this board if y'all want, but that needs to be what people
Right.
sign that they're
Sure.
gonna do.
You know, and the school board analogy is back to, you know, if a teacher has a problem with the principal, you know, they go, you know, who do they want to go to? And there's HR, like you said, but oftentimes it ends up going, you know, somebody calls a school board member.
Yeah.
And so we get those calls from disgruntled employees, and we get calls from, you know, citizens who,
Right.
you know, felt like service should have been done one way or the other, and so, you know, or it was timely or delayed.
Right, well, and then,
So-
you know, a complaint from a citizen is probably really what, in the eyes of the citizenry, what you do.
Yeah, we're just
But
wanting to
now
make sure
an
everybody.
employee is different because of that employment document.
What do we need to have that reviewed as well?
I would want to, if I'm you from an employment perspective, I would wanna make sure what my employee signed is what we were doing. So either that needs to be, it sounds to me like, without reviewing anything, either the process needs to change or the words need to change, if you're not doing what your words say. So,
I will say, generally speaking, some of us been on the board, y'all were both on before I came, and y'all been on several years now as well. The board, I mean, the authority, whatever you wanna call us, we function, I think 99% of our votes have been unanimous. So there's not a lot of friction, and friction can be a good thing to
Oh,
keep,
yeah.
you know, I mean, we bounce ideas
Right.
off each other, and I think we function very well as a group. We all have different areas of expertise, so we're not necessarily looking to, you know,
Abandon ship,
yeah,
start
yeah,
over.
to, you know, throw out everything and start over. You know,
What
we're
you're
just
saying-
wanting to support that, hey, we're doing, because it's not been looked at in 50
Right.
years, and
Right.
so we
That's
just
the
wanna,
big thing.
right, we just wanna make sure that we're not, you know, running on outdated
right.
laws and legalities and things that need to be in there are in there.
Does that open the county up to a lawsuit if we're reviewing these grievances of an employee when they signed off for a grievance committee to, is that what you're saying, that we're
I
not
can see where a
really,
lawyer would grab that.
Oh, yeah.
so we need to, I
Yeah.
mean, that needs to be fixed. Are
Oh,
there-
right, I mean, to me, that's regardless of what this does.
Right.
That's something that you would want to fix, you would want to be, the document that they signed is what you're doing.
That's easy.
And that would be the county manual the county manual that
Yeah.
they signed for would be the document.
Right,
Because when Mark was here, we worked at length to get everything consistent with the county and move stuff to the county's handbook that should have been there all along anyway. So that's easy. All we gotta do now is just say, that's the document we're gonna go by. That solves grievances, for example.
Do we need to go back through that entire, I know we kinda, we.
Careful what you volunteer for.
I know, yeah, I know, I'm not volunteering, I'm asking, is that
Be
something we
assigned.
need to go through
Te-
with you, I mean, with
well,
somebody that, cause I know that we.
technically, whatever the county's policy is, you have to abide by.
Yeah, and we do.
You know, there are some offices, you know, like your fee offices, your sheriff's department, you know, they by law can adopt their own policy. But most departments fall under the county's general
So
employee handbook.
where we run into trouble, things like vacation accrual, all that, we got moved to the county's handbook, it's all good.
Right,
But there are rules that apply to EMS that don't apply to any other
Right.
department. And rather than have that document crowded with 17 pages of stuff that applies to nobody but us,
right,
I felt like it needed to be in a different book, an
Yeah.
SOP or whatever you wanna call it. But we gotta make sure that's okay, you know, because again, some things that apply to us don't
Yeah.
apply to
so
anybody
you
else.
probably want.
Yeah, that's the reason why you'd want an SOP or SOG,
Yeah,
it's
but-
department specific.
Cause
But
what we
they-
had was 2 handbooks forever.
Mhm.
The counties and ours.
Yeah.
And it was a confusion as to which document superseded the other. So, Mark, we worked on that and got all that moved over. I think we're fine there. It's just a matter of making the rules that only apply to us in our document.
Yes.
And that would be just your licensures, your certifications.
Right.
Your, you know, that's more of your SOGs or SOPs,
But now, if you're
But-
addressing
hiring.
time, yeah, like if you're addressing, accumulation of time, if you
But
are,
that's all been moved to the counties.
okay, and
It's in there.
But
We've had plenty of work sessions on that.
things of that nature also
You go down
have
that
to be
road.
guided by the whole county employee handbook, not an SOP. Typically, an SOP doesn't cover that per se.
right,
I'm sorry, cover what? I didn't hear what you.
It's
I
more
said
operational.
Technically, an SOP or an SOG does not cover like disciplinary actions.
Right.
That's covered in an employee handbook for
Right.
for the
Right.
entity. So,
so what you really would wanna have is like the county, personnel policy and like the addendum for,
For EMS.
yeah,
Yeah.
for emergency personnel, but it would, 90% of it's the same, but hours would be different.
But, or we could just kick that over to the county and not even do the grievances, is what, you mean, and that, then we'd be in line with the rest of the counties, what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
I
Yeah,
mean,
things
If-
that
if
can
I-
be.
well, here's what I'm telling you really right now, if that policy that you're talking about hasn't been approved by the commission and filed in the county clerk's office, it's not really an employee handbook.
So, my understanding of a resolution, you don't rewrite it, you amend it.
Well, you can rewrite it,
Okay.
you can say, you know, this.
But I know for a fact there have been a bunch of amendments to that document over the last 50 years. I don't know where they are, but I know they happened.
Yeah.
I've sat through several meetings.
Well, and I'll
Where they
tell
did.
you what happens with that, and that's something that's just changed, and I wanna date myself here. But
ahead.
used to, you know, you would do a resolution to create something.
Mhm.
But you didn't necessarily reduce amendments to writing, and sometimes resolutions are not in writing. But the law changed, I don't know, some years ago, 10 years, 15, 20, I don't know, that said any act of the commission had to be by resolution, you know, with two sponsors.
So there could be changes that were never put in print.
Yes.
Okay.
But how long ago were you talking about that you've seen changes? Has that been
Since
past that?
2013.
2020 is the last thing I saw,
So there should be an amendment, a written amendment somewhere to this thing.
and it says Resolution 2020-20, I don't remember the number, but
But it's nowhere?
I don't know where it is.
Did you?
I
mean,
saw-
They should all be in the county clerk's office.
If it's 2020, that should be
I agree.
there.
That should- Yeah.
Now, when I told them to research, they may have went back,
I didn't.
they may not have went back
Okay.
That's just-
that early. They may have went back further back and said
Yeah.
they couldn't find nothing from 72, you know,
Yeah, till like
yeah,
15 years ago, right.
yeah, right. So, I mean, I can
My
tell them to
daddy
go back
was on
and,
the ambulance authority for 8 years back in the 80s, but
Was he?
I probably don't have a bit.
I figured his name.
What was your
but I never
daddy's
looked
name?
for it.
Doyle Hines,
Yeah, I remember Dole.
yeah.
Didn't know that was your dad,
Uh-huh.
but I remember Dole.
So,
He was on it.
So maybe what we ought to do is look at this, since we're one of the unique counties that has an authority, look at it, make sure, I mean, like I said, 72, see what has changed in the law compared to, you know, the, ambulance authority, cause I mean, at one time, there was a lot more than what we have today. And there's reasons behind them moving away from that, for some reason or another, beyond, way beyond us. But let's find out the reason, what was going on, what's the difference in, on the authority, where it stands to the law today. And it sounds like to me, you guys just wanna make sure that you're in the confines of the law, and you're running this organization correctly to keep liability down, to keep, protect the employees, protect the director, but also protect the citizens of Coffee County. Is that what I'm understanding correct?
Right.
In a nutshell.
Okay,
And
where
protect
the-
yourselves personally from any liability.
that's correct, and it protects you.
And maybe the title or the name, you know, that what we got, where that name reflects what we're, you know, versus what we're doing to
Yeah.
make sure
And,
we're in
and,
compliance.
and worst case scenario, okay, everything looks good, we can we're better benefited to continue as an authority than pass a new resolution, making the authority, and going forward, you know it's done right, or updated, or any other acts or anything of that nature. Because you're saying there's more acts that were done, or resolutions that were done that not written down, that solves all of that. It's kind of a cleaner slate, kind of cleans it up, organizes it, makes sure we're kosher, because they've got constables in here and funeral directors. So, I mean, this was the beginning of the EMS
It was
system in the state of Tennessee.
The very beginning.
Oh, no, it was when
Yeah.
the funeral directors
Yes.
decided they were not doing it any
Absolutely.
longer, and you're gonna have to figure out what to do, and
So there was
It was
probably
wrong.
some, my assumption, there was things that had been done later on, but if it's not written down, we can't prove that.
Well, you need that information too, so we need to get, if we can find any of the amendments or, continued acts, I mean, you need to get that information, so can you?
I'll call
If y'all
Sam,
can
I'll
find,
call Sam and
you know,
get him to
anything
research
like
that a
that.
little further.
Who's the holder of those?
Teresa.
Teresa.
Teresa? That's what I thought. That's what I
Yeah, the
thought.
county clerk should have all the historical, and even if there's not a document, there should be some reflection in the minutes of,
Of the commission meeting
Yeah,
that
the
says
commission
that they
meeting.
passed resolution blah, 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 that says this.
But
yeah,
we're
but
not gonna
sometimes
ask
it
her to
wasn't a
look,
resolution, sometimes it was just a motion to do something,
Oh, well, that's true.
a
Right.
but you're
motion
not gonna
to
go
see-
through
Before-
50
before-
years of county commission meetings to find in some obscure 1987 meeting,
Who, me?
well, nobody.
I was gonna say, I know, I'm
We
not
always
watching.
do like
Mine
meeting.
going there.
They are not readily certified by computers.
And if you notice,
Any
there wasn't even a county
downtime
mayor
while
back
you're over
then.
Do what?
There wasn't even a county mayor at that time.
No, it's county judge is what they were
And
called.
trustees, it was judge and trustees that ran the
Yeah,
county.
back then
They
the
were
county,
commissioners, they were trustees.
yeah,
trustees.
and judge, and the county judge, who was,
I hope this is a copy and this isn't the original, cause
No,
this is historical document for Coffee County,
no,
right?
you keep it,
well,
you can take it as a souvenir or take it to show, hey, this is what.
do you seek to, like I know some counties have gone to like an emergency services committee, or, I mean, do you desire to change, or or to look at options, or do you want to?
In the big picture, not this board, but in the big picture of the county, there's been talk of having a public safety committee comprised of, EMS, rescue squad, comprised of everybody that's in the public service realm,
Yeah,
and go from there. But that's just talking stages, and that's
Okay.
not.
But
that's
when
not
all
what
that
the-
came up, then there was questions about how are we okay like we are? It kind of evolved to, if we're not doing that, are we still good like we are?
yeah.
So do y'all guys have a public safety committee?
No.
No.
Okay, so
I'm a
really,
law enforcement committee.
Yeah, law enforcement committee, ambulance
911
authority,
committee.
And then volunteer fire.
EMS.
answers to HWR.
yeah, EMS got their own
so
committees.
basically nobody knows what anybody's doing in the different committees,
That's the
Right.
issue, yeah.
and nobody's working, kind of what we've always seen for the last few years, yeah.
Sure.
With our business,
Normal as we come.
nobody talks, nobody.
And there's been talk, we're trying to centralize all that.
Right.
And, where everybody we know what EMS is doing, and we know what law enforcement's doing, we'll all be on the same
We just
page.
had this
Some
same,
things we decide.
we just had this same meeting Monday, somewhere
Oh,
else.
yes. I mean, committees work very well. I mean, in some places, I've seen counties where nobody's talking to anybody. And, I've got one county that, they're, the simple fix, because where we are at in the public safety world is EMS is hurting on a lot of things. Fire is hurting on a lot of things. The rescue squad is hurting on a lot of things because, and just bringing those players to the table and talk, we find out that we all have the same problems. And maybe we can combine those efforts, not saying combine, but work to more closely together in order to help the citizens.
And let me make sure, all of the departments get along
Oh, I
great.
know, I know.
We're good.
I know.
It just, when you get up to that next level, that the communications aren't always.
Right.
But as far as working day to
Okay.
day, we're all good.
Oh.
I don't want anybody to believe.
No,
otherwise.
I
Well,
understand.
it's not that way everywhere, so be
It is,
happy
but
that
we
it's-
have a very
Yeah.
good with
Yeah.
all of our other
And that's
services.
wonderful.
Do you have any, ability to help
Unless
us
Frank won't say
with with what we were talking about with bonuses and raises? Is that something that you can give us advice on there? I mean, is that in your scope, I guess?
So there are some, I mean, there's fire departments that has been out there that has become a training ground for other departments. They will go in, they'll, sign on, get them a little bit of training. It's costing them, it costs them $15,000 for training equipment and everything. And then they're there a year and a half, they go to another job. That's the world we live in today. I mean, they are jumping ship, even in the law enforcement side of the fence, to even business side of the fence. They are jumping ship for $2 and $3 more an hour. And, we've had an inflation rate of well over 8-9% for the last 2 years. Cost of living is up for every citizen we have. So, taking that into perspective, there has been several fire departments that have done that. They've done a 2-year to 3-year contract. Feel like, you do that, or you can buy them back out, and if you want to go somewhere else. Is it working? I don't really know that, because it's so new to the organization, because we've never had to do that over the last 30 years. These were jobs that everybody wanted. You can't stop somebody really from leaving. If they want to leave, they're going to leave, except if you have that stipulation on that.
What I say is, we're basically rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
You are.
There are not enough medics,
There
and so
isn't.
we're just shuffling them around.
Mhm.
And if we give a bonus, like you say, they work their year for us, then they go to the next place that gives a bonus. We didn't solve anything, we didn't create
No.
more, we just bought or borrowed them for a short time,
Yeah.
but the ship's still sinking.
You're exactly right. And that is common to what I'm seeing. And this is not a Tennessee problem.
Right.
It's a nationwide problem.
Absolutely.
There's just not enough, medics, there's not enough firemen, there's not enough rescue. There's just not enough out there because, look at,
You see the advertisements all over for, like you said, for all three, EMS,
You
fire,
do.
law enforcement.
Yeah.
This one will, hey, we're doing sign-on bonus, we're doing a longevity pay, we're doing this, and starting pay is X amount.
Mhm.
I mean, you flip the ad and the next one is a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a cycle, like
And
Mike said.
I know policemen that have worked for all 3 departments in this county. I know it
How many
happens in y'all's
times?
field.
How many times?
Yeah.
How many times?
From an HR perspective, I can't speak from an industry perspective, but from an HR perspective, you have to look at your things that aren't necessarily monetary, that
Sure.
that will keep people there. Money brings them there, but things like,
Schedules, quality of life.
yes, is all the equipment
Insurance,
good? Is the
family
place
insurance.
I stay at, nice
Sure.
while I'm
And,
there?
and like on our end, the take-home car is a big plus for folks.
Right,
Because they don't have to spend the money on the gas to get
right.
there.
So, you look at those, because
There's a package.
and
I
I know,
mean, EMS don't have a take-home car, but, you start looking at other things, like you said,
Does
like
it-
call volume.
yeah.
Well, you need to get them so you can reduce that call volume, but, that's a growing thing,
Yeah,
so.
but is
there's-
it a nice place to stay while they're here, or, is how you, reassign shifts and all, just those kind of things. Another, I don't know if but, like providing take a college class, or pay for a certification, or, let them feel like you are vested in them. And I don't know if it's changed, but I think another thing that you have,
Well, we've started paying for their schooling
okay,
and then paying for their continuing education.
okay, so those are.
We even had it paid for gym memberships for a
Well,
couple
and
years.
that's
We did
another
that.
thing too, is
It didn't work.
communicating, putting, another thing that
Oh, we
places
tried.
don't do, and I'm not speaking about you, but, if you reduce all of those things to a number, your salary might be this, but we're paying for your gym membership, put that on here, we're paying for your college class, put that about, and pretty soon you've turned 20,000 into about 32. I don't know if it's changed. I mean, another thing that you have that hurts is insurance here. I don't know if it's still that way
They
or
are,
not.
they're working on it.
Yeah.
That's being
That's
addressed.
been addressed and
Yeah.
been working on,
Yeah, because when I think,
It's a
but there
killer.
again,
oh yeah, when
that's a cycle, because we've just heard of another, not another agency,
Yeah.
entity, I guess,
yeah,
that probably is looking at full paid insurance
yeah,
all the way around,
yeah,
or from family plan down.
yeah.
And our family plan
It-
kills
oh, yeah,
us.
and I know, like, when I was here, you
Yeah.
know, most of the people who worked with me were females who had husbands who worked somewhere else that did the
And their
insurance.
insurance.
But,
I'm trying to hire usually the head of the household.
right, so, you know,
And when they've got a spouse or children or both,
right, you can't afford
they
it.
can't afford it, yeah.
Right.
They're paying out more than they're drawing in, you
Yeah.
know. That has been a bad thing for a long time.
Yeah. So,
But they've done committees on the insurance and are looking at another insurance package,
Which will probably be presented fairly soon.
from what I understand.
This
well,
budget,
just, you know,
this
I
budget
just
will
showed
probably be,
you can, you
We'll have that
got some
incorporated.
We'll have that
pluses you can
incorporated.
throw, but, you know, you can't hide your minuses. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
the pluses, but at the end of the day, people go, what's the,
how much am I taking home?
what
at
is
the
it
end
per
of the-
hour?
Yeah,
you
oh, I know,
What is it per hour? That's,
that's what,
that opens the door to the rest of those
Yeah.
discussions.
yeah,
and, you know, for counties and cities, it's hard to keep up with that race for the money.
Oh, with the
because
private industry,
You can't keep up, we can't
Yeah.
keep up with private,
especially when that private industry owns a hospital.
right.
yeah. But
It's
now,
hard
you know,
to,
you
yeah.
do have the TCRS that they don't have.
No,
You
we
know,
don't.
you have to,
No, we
No, we
have the
don't.
401K version of the TCRS now.
They went out of it.
well, you do at least have a 401K version.
Okay, sure.
So they don't have, you know, a lot of them don't pay anything toward retirement, nothing. So there again, you have to quantify that and make them see that on day one.
They don't see it.
It has
I
been,
know,
I mean,
I
it
know,
doesn't-
Why don't we?
I
Pay me now,
know.
pay me later, they won't
Yeah,
pay
you
now.
know, That's what, just what I was gonna say is, you know, the newer generation
I know.
is, what am I getting right
Right.
now,
Yeah,
today,
I know.
yesterday, what am I getting?
I know.
Not what I'm gonna look at for 30 years from now, that, hey, I'm gonna have a good retirement,
Right,
that
No.
a lot of them don't care.
right.
But I'll worry about that later.
And I
Right,
need a mental
later will
health
be too
day off.
late.
They don't wanna work shift work
right. Okay.
anymore, I mean,
How are y'all working?
2448.
Okay. How many,
So, I'm
how many
sorry,
calls y'all usually run a shift? You're running how many?
30 a
trucks?
day, 1,000 a month,
How many
4,
trucks?
I budgeted for 5, we're 4 on a good day, 3 on a bad.
Compared to surrounding counties that run about 400 a month,
Yeah.
Yeah, having 2 big cities kills us because it just keeps our call volume so high.
Yeah. With Tullahoma and Manchester.
Manchester, yeah. And we have
Yeah,
strayed
that's what
way
we're
off
trying to do
topic.
with two
No,
municipalities in the same
this
county.
is, you know, and you and I mean, I would like to talk to you a little later on,
Sure.
you know, the operation of the ambulance service, just to get an idea of it, cause like I said, I really wasn't informed about what was kinda going on during the meeting or anything, but, you know, I know Coffee County, I mean, you got some good people here in Coffee County, and her and Phil Duncan, I'm very close to Phil, but
you know Phil?
yes, sir, I do. He's a very close friend of mine.
Really?
Worked at him with the academy for a long time.
Well, I worked with him for 30 years. Worked beside him for 13, so
Well, he's a good one. I told
you
him.
know what I know then, don't you?
Oh, yeah,
Did
yeah,
y'all
I
get
do.
y'all's questions answered on the resolution side of this house? Because we've strayed off course,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
y'all good?
So I'll go through that.
Right, and
Get some
if
answers
he needs
for
to contact any of us, just
Yeah.
feel free and
And Heather, I apologize, I
Well,
thought it come through on the cause I scanned it
Okay.
and sent it, so
Well,
you would have it to
sometimes
go
though, if I'm
through.
in a, like a bad area, they don't come through. I don't know what.
You gotta stay out of this bad area.
Do you need any,
Some of my areas
do you
are
need our contact
pretty remote.
information?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you, why don't you have Frank
I will
email it to
email it.
me and I'll get it tomorrow. Oh, you got your card?
That's right.
Well, then you can just email it straight to him.
Okay.
you want
Here.
to, we can just pass them off.
Hey, take one.
You got two
I'll
pages.
just
Oh,
take a
yeah.
picture of
We
it.
just dealing.
I'll get one down there.
Deal them down.
do you handle, does he handle 911
I can.
services also,
Yeah.
questions?
Careful what you
Okay,
volunteer
good.
for.
There you go.
Uh,
On one stop.
Yeah, good.
he's
Yeah.
a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Thank you.
I think the world of him.
I got one thing.
He's a good one.
So, anything else that we can do?
That's great, thank you.
You
Thanks
got
for
the
coming.
resolution?
I do.
Okay.
Is your cell, yeah, your cell's.
It is.
And
I'll
then
give
at
you a
some
call
point,
later.
I guess you
Well,
and
what-
Mark can,
Yeah, when
When
after
he's
he's
ready
had time,
and
we'll,
has something, then he can say, hey,
do y'all meet?
what's your next meeting?
Yeah,
And then
what,
we
do
can
y'all
let
meet
him know.
monthly?
Third
Jill?
Thursday.
The third Thursday?
Should be April
Third
18th.
Thursday.
Okay. just
Anytime
one
you want.
Thursday?
April
Okay,
18th.
April would definitely
push
be
it.
pushing. Let's,
Right.
we
Oh,
can shoot.
We
for
can do
May.
May, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the third
Hey,
Thursday
and
in
we'll
May.
take this opportunity to plug, I mean, I know probably, especially commissioners, y'all may not have time, but, TCSA, county, services, commissioners, mayors, and highway officials are members of that. They have their post-ledge conference in Gatlinburg, where there's a lot of county commissioners who are there, and Mark is working to get,
I'm working to get, the manager of ISO from, Florida to come up and kind of build the bridge to understand what the fire chiefs are saying, the bridge between ISO and the county mayors. Kind of understand what ISO is about, because you hear that all the time. ISO says, well, here's the guy that, hopefully he can answer those questions from the mayor and the commissioner standpoint.
so if y'all, that's that,
We're in the plans of that. We've got to talk to them and discuss, but
but y'all
that
could
would be
watch
great.
for that agenda to come out, when we get it from TCSA. That might be of interest to at least the ones that are commissioners. One of you that are
Thank you.
commissioners.
And like I say, when you want to come back and talk, just contact either one of us and we'll put you on and have you on. And if you need anything, hopefully we'll try to get it to you
That sounds-
quicker and.
Oh, that's
easier
fine.
this time.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. But you've
On
got.
that note, who's gonna, are you doing that, Mike,
What?
as far as getting with Teresa to see if she can, or is that you?
Do what?
Any
Looking for any-
amendments or
I'll
through
call,
some
I'll make
minutes
that
of
call.
what she could find to get? to
Yeah, I'll
where we
make
can
that call.
Push that way? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make that.
All right,
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
y'all.
Nice meeting you. And Mike, I'll give you a call.
We have work session is
All right,
adjourned.
thank
We
y'all.
don't keep make
Baseball
motions, remember?
See y'all.
see y'all.
Heather, thanks again.